Hey, what's up guys, it's Dan here, and today we have a new video, and today we're going to cover the recently released champion, Camille. Now, she can play both top and jungle, but today we're going to look at top lane Camille.
Precision is the difference between a butcher and a surgeon.
For more of my content, make sure you guys check out the video description. I've got a link to my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff, as well as a Patreon, and I did even start a new Discord, so if you'd like to just hop in and hang out or ask anything League of Legends related, please feel free. Keep in mind, I do my Riot Point giveaways on Twitter, so that's one you should definitely check out. All you have to do is follow, and when you see a giveaway, retweet the picture. But enough of all of that, let's hop into Camille's pros and cons. So Camille is a champion with very high melee damage and very solid roams and ganks. Now of course, since this is a top lane Camille guide, you're not going to be roaming and ganking too often, but when you do have teleport up, you can get off some really successful teleport ganks. This is of course because of your very high mobility and your ultimate of course, which locks people within an area. Camille is also a champion that can hard carry a game. Now I wouldn't call her a hyper carry or anything, but she can easily carry games. Camille is also somewhat weak before she gets her full kit. Of course, you'll have it at level 3, so it's not hard to get there, but you shouldn't be too aggressive until you do hit level 3. She does have some hard matchups, although not too many, and she's going to be banned pretty much all of the time. She's a strong champion that not many people know how to deal with right now, so you're not going to be able to pick her very often. Keep in mind, this guide is coming out right on her release, and it's very subject to change because tweaks will happen. For your Masteries, you'll want to go 18 Ferocity and 12 Cunning, grabbing Fervor of Battle as your Keystone Mastery. Now there are a couple reasons that we do like this Mastery on Camille, and first is the fact that we do get attack speed runes, second would be the fact that we get a Trinity Force which does have some nice attack speed, and your Q has 2 different ways to reset your auto attack timer, which makes it really solid as well. The only other alternative I would consider would be going 18 Resolve and taking Courage of the Colossus instead, because we do have a stun on our E, and that's a way to proc the Mastery. For your runes, you'll want to go for attack damage reds, armor yellows, magic resist blues, and attack speed quints. You could also go for fallen attack damage, but I really like the attack speed because it works great with Fervor, and your Q auto attack resets. Depending on the items you want to go for, you could also get 6 of Scaling cooldown reduction blues instead for 10% CDR at level 18. Usually I have no problem getting 40% in my item build though, but even if I am missing 10%, it's not the end of the world. For your summoner spells, you'll first want to pick up Flash. It's easily the best summoner spell out there, and it's great for an extra escape or engage. Of course then you can also use it to make flashy plays. Teleport in most situations is going to be your best second summoner spell. It's standard in the top lane, and it will let you make cross-map plays and allow you to split push and put pressure on the enemy team. If you prefer having some extra kill pressure, then Ignite is also a solid option. I don't take it too often myself, but if I am against champions who abuse healing like Swain, Mundo, or Soraka, then I will consider getting it. Exhaust is then your last option. You'll want to take it if you are against high damage champions like Yasuo or Zed in that top lane to stop their damage. Now let's move on to Camille's abilities, starting with her passive, Adaptive Defenses. Camille's next basic attack against enemy champions is periodically enhanced to shield her for 20% maximum health for either exclusively physical damage or magical damage, based on which type would mitigate the most damage from her target's damage. So this passive is extremely strong on Camille, and it can make you deceptively tanky. Basically, whenever this is off cooldown, you want to be trading with the enemy champion, unless of course you're extremely behind, to win a trade. In team fights, you have to keep in mind that this will only shield either physical damage or magical damage. If you're hopping into a team fight and there's 4 AD champions and a Katarina, but you do want to kill the Katarina first, you may want to hit an AD champion first to block their damage and then go for Katarina. It really sucks when you just go for Katarina and you end up getting instantly bursted by all of that attack damage. Now let's move on to your Q ability, Precision Protocol. Camille's next basic attack deals bonus physical damage and grants her bonus movement speed for 1 second. It can then be recast within the next 3 seconds at no extra cost. If recast at least 1.5 seconds after the first attack, Precision Protocol's damage is doubled and between 55 and 100% is dealt as true damage. Both casts will also reset Camille's auto attack timer. So this is definitely your bread and butter ability because it's your main way of doing some extra damage. It'll also make last hitting on Camille rather easy as well because that bonus attack damage will of course do extra damage to the minions, and it will reset your auto attack timer so you can kill 2 in really quick succession. The true damage on the second cast makes this ability insanely strong, and she can bring down even tanks. Just make sure you're doing that second cast between 1.5 and 3 seconds after the first. Now let's move on to your W ability, Tactical Sweep. After a brief delay, Camille sweeps her leg to deal physical damage to all enemies in a cone in front of her. Enemies hit by the outer half of the cone take bonus physical damage and are slowed by 90% that decays over 2 seconds. Camille is healed for the bonus damage dealt, capped at 10% of her maximum health versus non-champions. So this ability is a lot like Darius's Q, except it is a cone instead of a full AoE circle, and it does slow by 90% as well. The main ways you're using this ability is to hit the enemy champion in that outer cone to deal some nice bonus damage and keep yourself sustained, and of course, to slow the enemies when they are running away. Now let's look at that E ability, which is called both Hookshot and Wall Dive. For the first part, Hookshot, Camille fires a grapple in the target direction. If the grapple collides with terrain, Camille will dash forward and bind to the terrain. While bound, she can then cast Wall Dive. So, for Wall Dive, Camille dashes to the target direction, which has double range if leaping towards a visible enemy champion. Upon hitting an enemy or reaching maximum range, Camille deals physical damage to all nearby enemies. If Camille hits an enemy with Wall Dive, they are stunned for 1 second, and she gains bonus attack speed for 5 seconds. Another thing that works great with the Fervor Mastery Keystone. So this ability is fantastic because the first part, Hookshot, will give you some great mobility, and it's really solid if you do need to escape a gank. Of course, then the second part, Wall Dive, will stun your target, making dueling them a hell of a lot easier. Alright, now let's move on to that ultimate, Hextech Ultimatum. Camille dashes towards the target enemy champion, becoming untargetable during the leap. When she lands, she creates a locked hexagonal zone around her target for 4 seconds, knocking away all other nearby enemies on impact. The target can move freely inside the zone, but cannot escape it through any means. While within the zone, Camille's basic attacks deal bonus magic damage, and this is based off percentage of target's current health. Hextech Ultimatum's effects end automatically if Camille leaves the area. So this ultimate is obviously incredibly strong because you can lock somebody in a zone and you will be doing bonus % target current health damage, which is pretty crazy. Something that's even better than that though is the fact that you become untargetable during that leap. You can use it to dodge Yasuo tornadoes, Malphite ultimates, all that stuff you really don't want to get hit by. Of course, if Syndra ultimates you, you can get rid of that as well. So basically you want to use it just to dodge all sorts of different abilities, or to lock somebody in an area so you can destroy them. You can go for a couple different skill orders, but generally this is the one I like to go for. Either way, you'll always want to put a point into your ultimate whenever you can, at 6, 11, and 16. Then I focus on maxing my Q ability because it is the primary way we do increased damage, and that true damage is really solid as well. I then like to focus on maxing my E ability because the cooldown goes down 1.5 seconds every time we put a point in it, and it can really increase our mobility. We'll also get an extra 10% attack speed every time we put a point into the ability when we stun the enemy. Then, although our W ability is pretty nice, I only take 1 early point in it so I can actually slow the enemy champions, and then I save it for last. The outer cone bonus damage does scale 0.5% every time we put a point into it, but that's not enough to max it over our Q or E. Some people do max this ability second, but I absolutely hate that myself. For our main all-in combo, we first start by dashing in with our Hookshot. We then use the second form of our E, Wall Dive, to stun the enemy champion. We then want to trap the enemy with us with our Hextech Ultimatum, so we do some bonus damage, and then auto attack. You'll then want to use your Q ability to reset your auto attack timer, and then hit the enemy with your Tactical Sweep. Then hit the enemy with an auto attack, and then hit them with your second Precision Protocol. You'll have to make sure you do this between 1.5 and 3 seconds so you get that bonus true damage. By using your Tactical Sweep and an auto attack after your first Q, you'll easily be able to fill that 1.5 second time frame, and then use your second Q. In the lane phase, you'll first want to make sure you're grabbing all the CS you can. Your core is rather expensive and you need to be getting all the gold you can. Sure, this is obvious and all, but make sure you're not missing last hits. Then make sure you're not being too aggressive until you're level 3 and you have your full kit. Now when you're going in for trades, hitting your stun is extremely important. If you miss your stun or the enemy dodges it, wait for your cooldowns until you try and trade again. You'll usually either need to either land your stun or have your passive shield up in order to trade effectively. Finally, when you're running back to lane, make sure you're using your hookshot to get there quicker by jumping over towers and inhibitors. Whenever you have teleport up, look for an opportunity to teleport gank. In teamfights, you'll want to try to get onto a squishy champion with your hookshot and push away anybody who may be able to peel for them with your Hextech Ultimatum. If you've had a decent lane phase, this should give you enough time to delete the target as long as you're properly using your Q ability to reset your auto attack timer, use your Sheen procs, and do true damage. If you've gone for a rather squishy build, then you may have to pick your spot to go in carefully. Wait until the enemy has used some of their crowd controls and get onto one of the enemy carries that's out of position. Okay, now we're going to look at a couple of her hard matchups, and first up is Poppy. Now against Poppy, you're going to have to try to stay away from walls so you don't get destroyed by heroic charge. This is going to be pretty annoying because of hookshot and all. The main reason she is so hard for you though is her steadfast presence. Do not hookshot into her when you're in sight because she will activate it, knock you down, and easily win a trade. Farm as much as you can because you will outscale her in the later game. Fiora is then a champion who can really screw you over if she's good at using her riposte to stop the stun from your wall dive. Your stun is pretty damn easy for her to predict, which makes her life rather easy. You want to make sure you bait out her riposte before you even think about going for an all-in. Whenever she uses her grand challenge on you, you'll want to hookshot out and wait for it to fall off. Now let's look at two more, and first this time is Gnar. Now Gnar is going to be really annoying for Camille because of his ranged auto attacks and the ability to jump away with his hop. Unless of course you use your Hextech ultimatum, in which case he'll be stuck inside. Try to farm as safely as you can and avoid his boomerang throw as much as possible. When he is in Mega Gnar form, you want to make sure you avoid him as much as you can, and you can leap away with your hookshot if you do need to. Now last here is Nautilus, and he's insanely tanky with his double shields, and you're pretty much not going to be able to even take them down. You'll want to try to bait out his Titan's Wrath and wait for it to fall off before you do engage. You will eventually outscale him because of your Hextech ultimatum and percent HP damage items, so just farm for the late game. Finally, you'll want to make sure you're using minions to block his dredge line as much as you can, because if he does land it, you will be taking a large portion of damage. Alright, now for the item build, which starts with either a Doran's Blade, Health Potion, and Warding Totem, or if you do need extra sustain, you could get the Corrupting Potion and a Warding Totem. For our core build, we first get the Trinity Force. It can do a lot of damage with our kit and is a really solid item, and I always recommend it. We'll then either want to get a Titanic Hydra or a Ravenous Hydra. Both are great ways to increase our damage, add some nice split push, and make farming even easier. If you want to be more of a bruiser, take the Titanic Hydra, and if you want to be a very high damage carry, take the Ravenous Hydra. For our boot options, we first have Ionians for 10% CDR, Merc Treads for breaking out of CCs quicker and some magic resist, Ninja Tabis against high AD teams, and Berserker Greaves if you want to do even more damage. For our item pool, we first have the Sterak's Gauge and the Maw, and I take one of these every single game pretty much. In a normal game, you'll want to go for Sterak's Gauge, but if you need some magic resist instead, then go for the Maw. If you're then wanting to shred some armor, you could get a Black Cleaver, but I don't grab it too often myself. As always, Guardian Angel is a fantastic late game item, and if the game does go very late, I will always pretty much pick one up. Against a team with a lot of CCs that you may need to break out of, you would want to get a Mercurial Scimitar. It also gives you some lifesteal and some added damage, which makes it a fantastic item. We could also get the Death's Dance for some lifesteal and extra damage, and it's also really nice because it will give you 10% CDR. Against a very tanky, high health lineup, you may want to consider getting a Blade of the Ruined King. It'll add an absolute ton of damage in these situations. I don't get it too often myself, but against a really tanky team, I will definitely pick it up. If you then want to increase your defenses, you could get either a Dead Man's Plate or a Randuin's if you did need some armor. Dead Man's Plate is great in general because of the added mobility, but Randuin's is great against high crit champions like Yasuo. If you needed some magic resist instead, you could get the Spirit Visage or the Banshee's Veil. Spirit Visage is a great way to increase your sustain and get some magic resist and 10% CDR, and Banshee's Veil is also fantastic since it can block spells. For our example full build, we take our core with a Titanic Hydra and Ionian Boots. Since I didn't need the magic resist from Maw in this game, I went for the Sterak's Gauge and then got a Death's Dance to finish off at 40% CDR and finished it off with a Guardian Angel. This is a very solid high damage build which will give you some nice split push at the same time and some pretty decent defensives as well. But that, ladies and gentlemen, covers everything I've got for the Camille Champion Guide. For more of my content, make sure you guys check out the description below, and if you guys did enjoy the video, please make sure you thumb it up. But other than that, thank you guys a ton for watching the guide. I hope you guys did enjoy it and you found something useful, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Money, earn, crack money, drug money, bail money. Heard they got life for me, how they got life for me.